Derita, derita, derita. Stop, stop, stop. Okay, okay. Hop, 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 hop. No le mueva. Asparagus.
Hey guys, what's up? It's Stephanie. Welcome back to my channel. So in the video today, I'm going to be discussing what I learned from my first clinical rotation that helped me out for the remainder of my clinical rotation. So hopefully this video is helpful for you guys, for those of you who are about to start your first clinical rotation or are currently in your clinical rotations. Hopefully my feedback will help you guys, okay? So my first rotation was my emergency room rotation. Just real quick about me, I'm currently a second year PA student. I've completed majority of my rotations. I'm currently out of rotations because of COVID-19, so I still have 3 more remaining rotations, which are my internal medicine, my family medicine, and then my electives, whatever I wish to pursue. And once we are okay to go back, we will go back to rotations, but as of now, I'm currently out of rotations, so it gives me more free time to be making videos for you guys, which I love to do and I enjoy to do, and sometimes I can't do because of time constraints in PA school. So what I learned and what I wish I knew before starting my clinical rotations from my first rotation. First off, like I said, I did my first rotation in the ER. Honestly, I wish my ER rotation would have been my last rotation, because then I would have had a lot more experience, because in ER you get everything. You'll get OB-GYN, you'll get derm, you'll get psychiatry. I mean, you get everything, and you don't know what's coming into the door. So you have to make sure you are prepared, whether it's an emergency, whether it's an urgency, whether it's acute, subacute, etc. You don't know what's coming in. So you have to make sure that you're prepared. So this is why I wish it would have been my last rotation, but it was my first rotation. And I also wanted to pursue ER, but I think after that rotation, I don't know if I'm meant to do ER, but we'll see. I haven't finished all my rotations. There were certain rotations that I was not looking forward to and I thoroughly enjoyed, and it was something that I want to pursue, like my OB-GYN rotation, but we'll see. So ER rotation was my first rotation. I have to be honest that when I started that rotation, I was really scared to touch a patient. I dreaded whenever the doctor would send me to go see the patient, come back and give a report to him and give him my treatment plan. I dreaded that because it was my first rotation. I didn't know what I was doing. I was fresh out of didactic year. And what I wish I knew and what I learned was to basically have initiative. It's really important that you show initiative as a student to learn, to show that initiative that you want to learn. Because if you're just there standing and shadowing, you're not really going to get anything from the rotation. On top of that, you know, your preceptor, your doctor, the individual that is rotating with you, they're going to notice that this student is not interested. Even if it's a rotation that you're not interested in or you're not looking forward. For example, for me, I definitely was not looking forward to my OB-GYN rotation, and I ended up loving that rotation. I was not looking forward to my psychiatry rotation. I ended up getting a job offer from that rotation. You want to make sure that you're always showing interest, okay? And that you show initiative to go see patients. So I know for that rotation, I wish I would have shown initiative. Definitely after that rotation, I made sure that I showed initiative. So I would ask the doctor if it was okay if I could start seeing the patient, and then, you know, sometimes they'll tell you no. And then you're like, okay. And then sometimes they're like, yeah, of course. So show initiative to go and start seeing the patient. Also, another thing that I wish I learned is that I wouldn't be as scared to ask questions. Definitely ask questions. If the doctor prescribes a medication that you're not familiar about, ask him about him, or ask him why he prescribed that medication versus a medication that you're familiar with. Ask him why he decided to do this test versus this test. Also, I would ask my doctor, finally, like towards the end of the week, like the last few weeks, is if he could teach me how to read a CT scan, because he would pull it up and he would tell me, he would point at stuff, but I didn't understand it. And in PA school, I mean, we had a radiology class, but you definitely don't really learn how to read CT scans or MRIs or X-rays to the extent once you're in your clinical rotations. So I wish I would have asked him a lot more on how to read X-rays and CT scans appropriately, or why he orders one scan over the other one. For example, on a child that has appendicitis, you know, first line is definitely an ultrasound, because that's what we are taught in PA school, right, during your didactic year. But my doctor would be ordering CT scans, and so, for example, why would I ask him, why do you order that? And he would tell me, well, you know, this child is a little bit obese, so it'll be harder to see the appendix with an ultrasound, and that's why a CT scan is better and more accurate. And so definitely ask him questions, and also show initiative. If there's a patient that comes in with a wound that requires sutures, ask the doctor if it's okay that you go and do it, and if they can be there and help you. Okay, don't just wait for the doctor to ask you if you want to do it. show initiative. Go see that patient. Ask him if you can perform the physical exam. If it's a DRE, can I do the DRE? Can you show me how to interpret these labs? Can you show me this, and that? Ask questions. Make sure that you show that you are wanting to learn, you have initiative. It's really, really, really important. I wish I knew all of this, because after that, I think until after like my third rotation is when I finally started doing all of this. And I wish I would have started doing this since my first rotation. I was just really scared, and I didn't want to look bad in front of the preceptor or the doctor. I don't want to look stupid. And make sure that you learn from everyone, not only the doctors, the medical assistants, the nurses. They have so much knowledge and wisdom they can give to you. For example, for my ENT, I was only there for a week. I still have to come back and complete that rotation. It's my elective rotation. For my ENT, my preceptor allowed me to follow the nurse around, and he was putting IVs in. And I asked him if he could let me put certain IVs on some patients, because it's something that I want to learn. When I worked in the urgent care, I worked with a lot of PAs, and sometimes some of the medical assistants that were there didn't know how to put IVs, or couldn't put an IV because the patient was a hard stick. And so in these situations, it's just the PA, the MA, and then the front desk. So if the MA can't do it, then you have to do it as a PA. And so it's something that I learned, and I told myself I'm going to learn how to do IVs and make sure I do it correctly and appropriately, and I practice with it. And so that's why you want to make sure that you're showing that initiative with medical assistants, with nurses. Some medical assistants know a lot. They know how to remove staples. They know how to remove sutures. They know how to perform ear lavages. I mean, they know how to do a lot of procedures. And so you'll learn a lot from them also. Do not take them for granted. Treat them well, okay? You'll learn a lot from them. Sometimes if the doctor would be busy on a phone call, then I would go and ask the medical assistant if I can follow them around, or the nurse if I can follow them around, because you want to make sure you learn as much as you can. Take advantage of your rotation. Like I said, take advantage of it if you can. And I didn't start doing this until my psychiatry rotation, which was my fourth rotation. And I think this is a rotation that really set me to start seeing patients by myself. My psychiatrist literally, like on the first day, he's like, "Hi, what's your name?" Is Stephanie. "Okay, nice to meet you. Go see the first patient." Usually, like on the first few days for certain rotations, you'll follow the doctor around, and you'll get to see like how the doctor practices, what he likes to order, what he likes to do with patients. So you get to feel the clinic or the hospital or the doctor. And then like on the third or even the second week is when you start seeing patients. But for example, for my psychiatry rotation, that first day, he sent me in right directly to start seeing patients. And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know how to do psychiatry is completely different than doing a physical exam for a normal patient, because you don't go in there and you auscultate, and the type of questions you ask are very different. So I know, like I went in there, I think I shadowed a PA student once, and then I took notes, and then after that he's like, "Okay, go see the next one." And then after that I started seeing patients, and I was terrified, guys. I was so scared because I thought I was going to make a mistake. But no, I picked it up so quickly, and I started seeing patients like as if I was a practicing PA. It was amazing, just that autonomy that they give you. And that's what you need. I mean, you don't have to be babied. If you're literally like just thrown in there and you learn, that's the only way you're going to learn, and to show initiative. So I definitely did that during my psychiatry rotation, definitely did that during my pediatric rotation. My doctor wanted me to go and see children, perform newborn exams on them, basically write up everything. So go in, I had to make sure as if I was a practicing PA, see the patient, do the physical exam, write my notes on the physical exam, whether I saw retracted tympanic membrane, inflamed tympanic membrane, whether there was any, for example, there was any exudates in the back of the throat, etc. So I had to write that down, and then on top of that, I had to write my treatment plan. So if I was going to prescribe them a certain medication, what was going to be the dose. It's really hard in pediatrics, I found. I ended up purchasing an app that calculated the dose for me, because most of the medications are going to dose them according to the patient's size, so how many kilograms that they weigh. In comparison versus an adult, you really don't have to do that. With children, you do. And so that was very difficult for me. I had to get used to it. I struggled so many times the first week. My doctor would be like, "Oh my gosh, you're overdosing them, or you're underdosing them." And so, but I learned, and like I said, it was as if I was a solo PA. It was as if I was a solo PA practicing. I was seeing patients on my own. I was diagnosing them, giving them a treatment plan, telling them to follow up in certain days. And then he would just go and, okay, everything you did was correct. No, you missed this. Or why did you give him this? You know, and that's the only way you learn, is to basically be out there and ask them if you can start seeing patients. And I think I have 3 more rotations left, and that's what I'm going to do. I've been out of rotations clinic so long. I'm already like, I have that itch that I want to go back into clinical rotations and I want to start seeing patients. And so that's basically how you learn. And that's what I learned from my first rotation, is to basically just go in there and start seeing patients. Have that initiative, okay? Show interest. Make sure that you're on your best behavior, whether it is being there on time, showing up every day, okay? Making sure that your white coat is permed, your clothing is nice, your hair is nice. It doesn't have to be down and nice, because certain rotations you can't do that, like your surgery rotation. But make sure that it is tidy. If you have it up, make sure it's tidy and it's neat. Your makeup is not like extremely like extreme, you know, make sure it's subtle. Make sure that your clothing is ironed, your scrubs are ironed. I mean, there's so many times where I saw students that just had so much dandruff on their scrubs and they just look so bad. So you want to make sure that you are on your best behavior, you're dressed appropriately for your rotations, you show interest, and you show initiative to see these patients, because you're going to learn a lot. Take notes also. I would take my notebook with me, and then if there was something that I didn't know, or like a new disease that I had never heard about, I would write it down and go home and research it, okay? Or if the provider you're with or whoever you're with will ask you a question, then write that question down, go home, research it, and then show up the next day and tell them, hey, you know what, I looked up this question that I had and this is the answer. Or sometimes you'll ask a provider a question and they're like, look it up. And so you go home and look it up. Also, if they ask you a question and you don't know the answer, just tell them, I don't know, but I can look it up once I get home, okay? Don't always try to guess. Tell them, I don't know, I'll look it up. I learned that my first rotation. It was a pet peeve of my doctor, is that if I didn't know the answer and I tried to make something up, it would just annoy him so much. So he preferred to say, he would tell me, if you don't know the answer, just tell me, I don't know, I will look it up. Whether it was there during that time that I would look up the question, whether it was on my phone, I would bring my iPad on the internet if I had access to a computer, then I would look it up. If not, then I would go home and look it up, and the next day I would explain it to him. If you don't know the answer, just tell them that you don't know. But yes, I hope this video was helpful for you guys, and these tips are helpful for you guys. For those of you who are about to start your clinical rotations, show initiative. Don't be scared. You're going to learn a lot whenever you show initiative, and I learned a lot from those preceptors, PAs, doctors who allowed me to see patients, who basically just threw me in there. It was very scary at first, I have to be honest with you. Like I said, with my psychiatry, my first day, I mean, I was not accustomed to seeing a psych patient, because it's completely different on how you work them up versus a regular patient in the clinic. And so I was terrified, but I learned so much. And I have to say, I think if I accepted that job from him, because he offered me a job for psychiatry once I graduated, I would feel comfortable seeing patients, because I had got so much experience. And then on top of that, during COVID-19, since I've been out of clinic since March, and it's July when I'm recording this, he called me up and he offered me a job. He's like, I know you're not graduated yet, but you want to come back and work with me? Basically what you were doing as a student, you're seeing patients, you're writing notes, and I'll pay you. And I'm like, yeah, definitely, anything so I can be back in clinic. So I got an extra month of an experience doing that. And so it was a great experience. I really recommend it. Alright guys, I hope this video was helpful for you guys. As always, if you guys have any comments for me or anything like that, make sure you comment below, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.